Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, and welcome to a special Between Takes episode of Missing Frames. I am your host, Shawn Eastridge. Normally on Missing Frames, we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives, but every so often we do a special episode where we focus on something that's outside the norm for this show and its format. And in this case, there's a lot of people talking about this Marvel show, WandaVision. I like that I called it a Marvel show, as if you don't know what WandaVision is.
And they know Marvel.
They know Marvel. They know what Marvel is. They know what WandaVision is. They've presumably seen the title of this episode, so I'm failing on multiple levels. But lots of conversations, and Richie, my dear friend Richie Pepio, who is on the show. Hello, Richie. Introduce yourself.
Wanda.
Oh, wait, Paul Bettany,
voice.
did you join us on the call for a split second there? I could have sworn.
Nobody understands what it's like to be a robot. Not even writers of WandaVision.
Yeah, apparently not. So we got Richie Pepio here because what we realized is Richie and I have been texting each other since the beginning of WandaVision, since it first aired 9 weeks ago. I guess it's been about 9-10 weeks, so a couple months. Feels like yesterday. And we started off kind of like texting each other like, are you enjoying this? I don't know, are you enjoying it? And then we realized, as we kind of our opinions kind of spiraled and did a tailspin, and we were like, you know what, we should just do a podcast episode.
Look, WandaVision came on the scene. It came on the scene hot, you know? Like, I don't think we were expecting that we would be pulled in to the Wandaverse for such a wild ride. And I'm talking about the emotional tailspin of talking about WandaVision and texting about it nonstop.
Because it became, what we're going to try to do here is an experiment where we are going to essentially try to have our texting conversations, but recorded as an actual audio conversation that people can listen to, a review of WandaVision, because we have so many thoughts about it. And what we very quickly realized is that, like, we are definitely not in agreement with what seems to be the consensus about this show.
And again, though, social media does a great job of, like, blurring the lines between fantasy and reality. You know, we're all caught in these bubbles. As we've learned over the past few years, everybody's in a bubble. You got to get outside your bubble. And I think we both might be trapped inside.
It's not
the WandaVision bubble.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Wanda has trapped the entire viewing public in a bubble that's convinced that the show is good. If that doesn't give you an indication on how we feel, just you wait. And I'm gonna try really hard to be level-headed, because I don't want to put anybody off. And I know people like the show, and I want to try to understand it. I want to try to understand the reaction, and I also want to try to understand why it's not clicking with me. But before we really dive into WandaVision, let's take a step back. Richie, as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes, where do you stand on it? Because there are people who are like, oh, it's all stupid nonsense. It's big blockbusters. It's ruining cinema, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, I think both you and I have really, really enjoyed Marvel Studios output for the
most part. Like, there are times when I'll see, like, the zeitgeist, everybody's really into one movie over another, and I'll be like, well, I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2 more than 1. What a hot take. But I
feel the same way. Yeah, I agree.
But I generally, like, I feel like me and the consensus of the public is on the same page, where, like, oh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is great. Yeah, it's a little repetitive. Yeah, it kind of gets mind-numbing when, like, just, like, sometimes cartoony special effects, the massive undertaking, like, the scope is so intense and insane and unlike anything else we've seen in movies before, that it's a lot to take in. But it's like a nerd's dream come true. We're living in an era where, like, as they say, nerds rule the world. In good ways, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in bad ways, Big Bang Theory. But, it's an interesting time to be alive. I always kind of thought that me and Marvel were on the same page, you know? I thought we understood each other. I thought we had each other's back. And I feel a little let down.
Right, this is the point in your relationship where you start to realize, you're like, maybe I I made a huge tiny mistake.
Yeah, maybe it went too
And
fast. Like maybe we really rushed headlong into this over the last 12 years.
maybe we need to take a
And
step back. It's
we need to
too
take a
serious.
couple.
We
We need
shouldn't
to
have
take a quick
moved in
break.
together.
Seriously.
I've been an avid defender of Marvel in general because I don't disagree with the like somebody like Scorsese, who has been very vocal
Mhm.
about his opinions regarding blockbuster cinema and the way cinema has kind of been hijacked and turned into strictly a product. And
Right.
he's not wrong. Like,
No.
I get where he's coming from, but I think there's a general misconception as far as that being a like reflective of the quality of the films, because while some of the MCU movies I've not been a huge fan of, the ones that are really good are like some of the best blockbuster filmmaking out there.
Ever.
Like it's some of the best. I love the original Avengers. I think it's fantastic. I
Mhm.
thought Avengers Endgame was great. I thought the Captain America movies were great. Thor
The first
Ragnarok
Iron
was
Man was great.
the first Iron Man's amazing. It's just, I think it's not one or the other extreme. I think there's more of a middle ground where it's like, yes, on the one hand, we're seeing cinema's landscape change and being really dominated by this idea of like, oh, we need big cinematic universes, and it's taking away from film as an art form for sure. But at the same time, I've always said I'd be more upset if the quality of the product wasn't good. And again, for the most part, not only was it good, it was great. Like it is
Yeah.
giving, like you said, it's a fan's like dream come true. It's the best possible outcome, and it's people treating these properties with respect. Like
And
I don't think
love.
anyone would walk out of. I don't think anyone walks out of Endgame and thinks like, "Oh God, these people suck," or they don't care about what they do. There's so much care, and there's emotional resonance, and there's like really well done storytelling. And
I would
frankly,
argue the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they don't take themselves too seriously. They don't content that seriously, which allows them to kind of disarm you with like sometimes cute, sometimes funny, always heartfelt, or most of the time heartfelt movies and characters that you could really relate to and get behind. At the same token, they take the filmmaking super seriously. The writing process, the story group that balances all these crazy complex storylines that unfurl over a period of years.
That's what I'm saying. I think from a screenwriting perspective, you could actually look at films like Avengers or Civil War and talk about, okay, how do you write a well-balanced ensemble piece and make every character feel like a part of the puzzle? They're not superfluous. Like Civil War, I mean Infinity War too, but like I think Civil War was the first real example. The first Avengers, of course, because that brought all the superheroes together. But Infinity War brought like not just like 5 or 6 people, it brought like 20, like 30, like it felt like
insane.
So many. It felt like you introduced
and everybody
Black
had a
Panther.
moment.
Yeah, you entered and in Civil War you introduced Black Panther, you introduced Spider-Man. So it's like on top of bringing together a bunch of characters, you introduce new characters, and I think legitimately it's some of the best screenwriting out there because it feels balanced. Characters have arcs emotionally. It feels a little crowded at times, but there's room to breathe. There are character beats, and it feels emotionally fulfilling, but also satisfying as a piece of storytelling. So it really is impressive as a piece of not just like blockbuster filmmaking, but just storytelling in general. It really has a lot to offer, I feel like.
I agree. And speaking of storytelling, I'll just say I don't love the save the cat formula that's taken Hollywood by storm. And if you're not familiar, Save the Cat is basically
it's like a checklist.
Yeah, it's a checklist. It breaks down the outline. I guess like breaking down the outline writ large, like the introductions need to happen by page 3, by page 5.
Yeah, you have to have the inciting incident by this point, and
yes.
Something needs to. What happens is when you subscribe to that format, you get cookie cutter storytelling.
Right. Most movies are made following that formula, and because of that, you don't really have many god-awful, horrible train wreck movies being released by major studios nowadays, but you also don't have many original, surprising, like, organic films being released either. But Marvel, which follows that kind of formula to a T, are like probably the best purveyors of like mass manufactured, like just great, entertaining, formulaic, but super thrilling movies. And like, to be a superhero
Yes.
movie is to follow a formula, and it's helped them to kind of, their quality is pretty consistently top notch.
Agreed. And
Yeah.
it's been top notch for like over a decade.
Right.
And I think the problem is, I remember when phase 1 was happening and I was kind of indifferent. Like, I enjoyed
Me too.
Iron Man, but I think we both felt the same way, where it was sort of like, where is this going? They were doing Captain America and Thor and the Hulk got a movie. And it was just this feeling of, I know they're leading to the Avengers. They were building to the Avengers, but I just didn't care. It did feel like, okay, these movies feel like stepping stones, with the exception of the first Iron Man, which felt like its own movie. It felt like every movie was a stepping stone to get to Avengers. And I was like, well, if you're not going to take the time to just craft good movies in general, then why should I care about your big team up movie when I don't care about any of these people in their individual movies?
Right. And outside of Iron Man, they all felt very disposable.
They felt disposable. They felt small. Like, they felt like, oh, this is an appetizer for the upcoming main course. But it was all like, I was like, but what's the main course? Like, what are you going to be feeding me? Like, should I be concerned?
And I didn't care about it either, really, because because again, the performances were great, the actors were great. Marvel was formulaic at that time too, but like, I don't think they
hadn't had the opportunity to play their hand yet. And their hand was the Avengers, which I adore. It's my favorite Marvel Studios movie, or the cinematic
It'd be my
universe.
third favorite superhero movie of all time. I think it
me
was
too.
in 2012 and it still is today.
I think the first Avenger, it blew me away, and it completely opened, like, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm on board. But now what's happened is, with the release of Avengers Endgame, which I thought was great.
Me too.
I thought it was a fantastic ending to this like sprawling 20 plus film series. But inevitably, it's like, okay, but we know it's going to keep going. We know this is not really the end, that there are going to be more movies, that the deaths that are in these films are probably going to be made irrelevant because we want to bring back Loki and Vision and all these fun characters that we love so much. So consequences are going to start to go out the window. And I think the problem is, I find myself after Endgame feeling very similar to how I felt with phase 1, which is like, okay, now what have you got? Because you've shown me so much already, and the story has taken a natural course. The characters that I love have like succeeded in fulfilling their arcs.
They either died or retired.
Yeah, they've died or retired. And it's like, of course they could come back,
right?
Because that's how these things work. But it feels like such a powerful, well done way to end things. And Endgame went pretty all out. Like, you had all the superheroes in a big battle at the end of that movie, and I don't know that you have anything else really to show me. And I was getting nervous seeing the Black Widow trailers, thinking like, nothing about this excites me anymore. And I didn't
the thrill is gone.
Yeah, I didn't love Spider-Man Far From Home either. And so I've been kind of like, oh no, am I just getting off this bandwagon? Am I done with it? But then there was this little spark of hope, because you started hearing about WandaVision, and you started hearing about like, oh, they're going to do something weird. It's going to be a little bit more creative and off the beaten path. They're going to try like experiments with sitcom styles, and it's going to be kind of referencing Tom King's The Vision, which I think is a spectacular comic book. And
those
so
trailers were really well produced. Like, the editing is fantastic. There's something nostalgic about it, but also fun and new and fast paced and action packed and colorful. It's promising you a lot.
That's exactly it. So it was like, oh, okay, well, in terms of what I was feeling, I had this fear of like, oh, Marvel doesn't have any storytelling juice left in the tank. And then WandaVision comes along. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is, what's impressed me about Marvel Studios is, they take calculated risks, but they are risks. Like, Thor Ragnarok is a risk, like, to be a straight comedy and a wacky borderline slapstick comedy after two, relatively straight, serious Thor movies and a relatively straight, serious Marvel universe.
Well, they even said they figured out that Chris Hemsworth was a comedic actor a little late. Yeah. Unfortunately.
And you bring in somebody, you bring in Taika Waititi, who is not necessarily like, oh, we don't know him for his big blockbusters. We know him for his like indie comedies, which are great. So there's that. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is another great example.
Yep.
You know, you bring in James Gunn, and it's a movie that's quirky and not and a little off the beaten path. So I'm like, well, Marvel Studios has proven that they're willing to take risks, and they've done it, and they've done it really well. So maybe WandaVision is the thing that's going to pull me back in and get me excited for what the storytelling possibilities are. And like you were saying, like, yeah, the trailers, the marketing was so on point, and like the posters and stuff, it looked weird.
And the media blitz
crazy.
was huge. Like there were so many positive reviews. There was a lot of news coverage and media coverage over like, oh, it's almost unprecedented.
You've never seen anything like WandaVision, like constantly.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, is this going to be like David Lynch inspired?
I wish it was.
I wish it was. Well, you know, The Vision by Tom King isn't Lynchian. It's not like as surreal or nightmarish, but it is like it feels like it owes Alan Moore's Watchmen a lot. Like it feels like it owes a lot to that story, and it's going for that grand, tragic. Like it's not just about superheroes, but about like what's the meaning of life and existential questions. So it was like, okay, well, if we're using that as a template, that's really exciting. And then just the format and the technical side of like, oh, they're doing sitcom bits. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to commit to this, if this is going to play out well, or if it's just going to kind of fall by the wayside. And so like you said, it was, you know, the critical response was really glowing. And then I talked to my friend Brad Gullickson, who writes for Film School Rejects and does Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast and the Rest in Pictures podcast. And he mentioned to me, he's like, yeah, I've seen the first 3 episodes. The first 2 are okay, but the third one is where it really gets going. And I kind of wish initially they'd only released the first 2 episodes, not the third one. He's like, I wish they'd release the third one because that's the first one where it feels like you start to get a feel for it. And I remember watching the first 2 episodes, and I think we texted each other almost immediately as soon as we watched it. Like it was kind of like, hey, have you seen WandaVision? And you said, yeah. And I said, what'd you think? And you were like, I don't know.
I think our texts are, you know, a slow dawning horror coming across our face, a pall falling across the neighborhood. Yeah, I wanted to give the show the benefit of the doubt. And I each week generally gave it the benefit of the doubt because I kept watching, but it was frustrating. And I think for me, I love old television. I really love old television. I have some like, you know, I wish I was alive in that era that I could have like written for those old shows. Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy. I love old comedy, old vaudeville, slapstick, physical comedy. So I'm a big fan of that. I also love Marvel. So I was really excited. And for me, the production design was generally pretty good. I wish they kind of steered a little bit more away from CGI because you could kind of see like, you know, I wish they actually did have things on strings.
Yes.
And I think there was an article that did say that there was a live studio audience, although I'm not 100%. It did feel like there could have been a live studio audience. But they, you know, because in these like TV shows, late night TV, late night comedy, live television that still exists now, you know, they really, you know, hype the audience up. They try to get you laughing, even at things that might not seem as funny for like the live audience. I mean, for the at-home audience. So when you're watching a sitcom, especially one that's like a multicam before a studio audience, it seems funnier when you're there because, you know, you've had a warm-up comic and you're just excited to be there. You're excited to be there for a live performance. You're feeding off the energy of the actors. So if there was a live studio audience, and, you know, internet trolls out there, feel free to discredit me for being wrong. But if there was a live studio audience for that, the first 2 episodes, I wouldn't blame them for laughing. I'd be excited too. I'd probably laugh too. From my perspective, I didn't find it very funny. I know it's written in the old style of comedy from the days of yore, from the golden age of television, but as a fan of those types of shows and sitcoms, I felt like style-wise something was a little off. And I hate to sound picky, you know, it feels like it could be a nitpick in a normal situation, in like a Marvel movie that's normal, that has like, you know, kind of like the normal MCU structure. Then it's like, all right, get over it. So you didn't laugh at some of the jokes. You know, you came for the action, you came for the drama, you came for the big spectacle. But this show, particularly the first 6 episodes of it, was so rooted in that's like old sitcom style that to have to sit through episodes where the style was necessarily like, let's write the funniest WandaVision version of like the best Dick Van Dyke Show you've never seen, which is still to this day very funny. It was like, let's write aren't old sitcoms hokey plot?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do, a sitcom parody for like 10 minutes, like a 2-hour movie runtime, that makes sense. If you're gonna do like a very kind of hackneyed, like sitcoms are goofy and full of puns, that's fine. But if you're gonna do a new hot Marvel show and give us, what is it? I don't know, 3.5 hours worth of, like, I don't care that the X-Men aren't name dropped. I know a lot of people are like saying people who don't like WandaVision just had like wild wishes they needed fulfilled. I don't give a shit about that. My problem is the writing was lame. And I can't compete. Like, I'm not being paid to write WandaVision, but also I'm not being paid to write WandaVision. They're making I got to imagine they're making a pretty penny on that show. So
just a little bit. But yeah, I will give credit where credit's due. I applaud the team for committing to the sitcom bit.
Yes.
Like, I was, I think in a normal circumstance, it would have been, like you said, the first 10 minutes of a 2-hour movie, which is the version that would have turned out better, I think, than this did.
Yeah.
But I do give them credit for not coddling the audience and not hinting at what was behind. They did a little bit. Like in the first episode, there's that
the fact that they went for it, that is commendable, especially in an era where, like, we assume we belittle the audience, assuming that they have such low attention spans. And the production design was generally amazing, and the cast was generally amazing, and especially those first 2-3 episodes, style wise, outside of like the CGI that I mentioned, it was pretty on point. So like,
yeah,
that was great.
But the problem is, like you were saying, no one's fully committed in a way that I think would have worked. And the writing is not strong enough to make it work as a sitcom episode, which unfortunately it's not like, eventually it becomes, okay, we're cutting back and forth between sitcom and what's really going on in the world. But those first 2 or 3 episodes are all sitcom.
Strictly sitcom.
Like 30 minutes of sitcom with little hints of, there's something weird going on. But for the most part, it's sitcom. So if you're going to make me sit for 30 minutes and watch a black and white sitcom, it better be funny.
Right. And there weren't a lot of jokes if you're trying to count. I mean, there were some puns. There wasn't much physical comedy. I know they said in one of the puff pieces that was written about WandaVision, talked about, we tried to be as accurate as possible. And visually, they did try really hard. And they brought back Dick Van Dyke as a consultant. And I even texted you this. I was like, look, if you're going to bring Dick Van Dyke in, he didn't write the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was on it. If you're going to bring Dick Van Dyke on set, put him in the show. Like, he can still act. What a waste. Again, but that's my problem with the show. Like, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but
it's all surface level.
It's all surface level.
It's
a wasted. It feels like it's a wasted opportunity. You were so close. You could have done so much better, Marvel.
They did not think enough to suggest, like what you're saying. Like, they didn't consult the writers.
They didn't consult the writers of their sitcoms, which some of them are still alive, especially even from the 60s.
It is this thing of like for instance, the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. They're not good movies by any means. Batman Forever, I'm partial to. Batman and Robin is pretty atrocious. No. And both of them are kind of like, but it's homage to Adam West and Burt Ward Batman. That's why it's so stupid. But the thing is, there's this feeling of the filmmakers thinking they're better than the material with the Schumacher Batman movies. And the Adam West Batman is full on committed to the bit. Like, nobody's winking at the audience in a way that's like, this is stupid, right? Whereas WandaVision, I think part of the problem is the writing's not strong enough to merit the sitcom format for an entire 30-minute episode. But there's also this sense of like embarrassment. Like, it's like they don't quite trust that the sitcom format is going to work. So it's almost like they can't commit. And even when they do commit, they don't commit strong enough with good enough punchlines and
Yeah.
things like that to really make it work.
And I've seen the argument too that it's like, well, and we learned later it kind of in Wanda's head while she was being manipulated by, spoiler alert. Sorry, are we allowed to say spoilers now?
Yeah, let's do
All right,
it.
cool. Well, manipulated by Agnes the Witch, which side note is appropriate because Samantha's mom on Bewitched was played by an actress named Agnes Moorehead, who's a great freaking actress. I know the character actually exists in the Marvel comics, but I thought there were some Bewitched connections.
Oh, that's
Why
great.
don't I drop that in there? Agnes Moorehead is also great in what I recently saw for the first time, The Magnificent Ambersons. She's fantastic. Anyway, I forget where I was going with that.
I don't know where we're going. I don't think WandaVision knew where it was going. But I think the point
again,
is,
yes.
WandaVision, I think what our fears were early on is like, is this going anywhere? And what we realized over the course of 9 episodes, totaling, I guess if each episode is half an hour, I'm terrible at math. How do we do? What is that? Like, is that like a 5-hour movie?
Yeah.
Is that like, it's close to 5 hours, probably about 5 hours, because some of these episodes are longer, although like at least a good 10 minutes of each episode is devoted to the end credits, which is insane. But we're talking about a 4 to 5 hour thing that you're watching, and thank God it wasn't longer, because I would have lost my mind. But the issue with WandaVision is the bit of it's a sitcom is the only thing it has in its favor.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like the guy who tells a joke and the joke works really well the first time you hear it, and the guy's not particularly a good comedian, so he just keeps leaning into that joke and he keeps telling the same joke over and over again, and it's kind of like, okay, I get it, it's not as funny anymore. Okay, do you have anything else? Like, seriously, you're driving me crazy. Like, it goes from being like funny to cute to annoying to like, shut up, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Right.
That's how WandaVision felt. It felt like the first episode I was like, okay, pretty clever, Marvel, pretty clever. I applaud you. So where's this going? I get that it's weird. I get that this is an alternate reality. Where's it going? And for 3 episodes straight, every episode's the same.
Yeah.
It's sitcom homage. And
if it was funny, again, like, and you can like,
I wouldn't have been thinking.
I
about
wouldn't have
that
had a problem with it. And there are writers,
it.
there are enough funny people in Hollywood to found a way around the show's inherent difficulties, storytelling wise.
You get half-baked sitcom, not particularly funny, not strong writing, not even like great performances, really. Catherine Hahn's pretty good, but even Bettany and Olsen feel kind of awkward. And then it turns into, each episode is like, at the end of it, it'll be like, but something's going on, and just you wait. And that's the first 3 episodes. And it's not until episode 4 where we get to an actual like, here, let's lift up the curtain a little bit and show you what this is going to be about. Which, that's like, I mean, we're talking about an hour and a half into this program finally getting to a point, and I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it took so long.
Yeah, I thought there were some clever story ideas that were pretty fun. The gum in Paul Bettany's mouth that's literally gumming his works, and the animations that were associated with that. Theme songs were generally on point.
The commercials were great.
I loved the magic show in the second episode. I thought the clever idea there was it's an anti-magic show, basically. Again, there were some really great ideas in there, but it was a little odd, unfortunately. And just to get back to a point that I was about to make, and then I lost my train of thought, and I forgot a couple seconds ago. I've seen the argument of like, oh, well, style-wise, since it was all in Wanda's head, that's why, like, maybe the writing wasn't as great. Like, oh my God. And it's that's so convoluted.
Stupid.
If we're going to have to sit through a show for 40 minutes a week, make it funny.
You know what that reminds me of is people saying like, oh, well, the prequels were supposed to have bad dialogue because they're teenagers in love, and teenagers in love are stupid. So it's supposed to be awful. And it's like,
okay. There needs to be some kind of entertainment value. All right. So, in case you haven't heard from the sound of my voice, I've changed microphones due to some technical difficulties, but there's been no more difficulties than the difficulties this show has caused to my sleep patterns over the past 2 months. Anyway, there are some things that I did like about, especially the first couple episodes. Like we said before, production design was great. I wish there was a little less reliance on CGI. I wish there was a little bit more like in-camera special effects, but otherwise that was fine. The cast, generally all right. I really liked, who are we kidding? They're great. They're pros. But again, like, you know,
But they are like, they do feel kind of like almost, I felt sort of like they were me. Like in a sense that they were kind of at points going like, is
what am I
this gonna
doing?
work? Yeah, are we going anywhere with
Well,
this?
even
Because
Catherine Hahn seems like that in the talk show appearances she's been making, where she's like, "I don't understand why people love that song, Agatha All Along," even though it's well written by the couple who co-wrote the songs to Book of Mormon, and they co-wrote Frozen. I hope I'm being
right.
correct. I haven't checked IMDb before I started, but they're very talented, and the theme songs for the show were great. But you kind of see, like, behind their eyes, there's a little bit of deadness there.
Yes, there's a sense
Yeah.
that they're not sure if it's working because, and to be fair, the writing is not it's not up to par with what it needs to be for
Right.
it to work.
Well,
And
and needs to be is I think the key word here, because or the key phrase here, because I'm a Marvel fan. You're a Marvel fan. Correct me if I'm wrong or if you felt the same way, but I feel like Wanda and Vision were not the most well-defined characters going into WandaVision. Like,
no.
their relationship, I know that comes from the comics. I know there's a lot of fans who have like very strong feelings for these characters, but their relationship kind of just, it felt like it happened and blossomed between movies. And
Right. And also, like, that argument doesn't hold water because these movies have done such a great job of creating fully formed characterizations for all these other characters that for you to be like, oh, well, in the comics, they love each other, so I give it a pass, even though it doesn't make sense. I actually thought they were really, considering how little time we've spent with them as a couple, I got more emotional resonance from their moments together in Infinity War, which
yeah,
were minimal,
well,
than I
but
did
they were
from
jarring
they
and
were
like
jarring and they were good and
violence
they were
when
emotional, but
yeah.
also I got more from those moments than I did from the entirety of WandaVision.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, again, another problem with WandaVision is that the point of this show, one could argue, I'm arguing right now, is that it needs to justify why we're spending so much time with these characters. It needs to tell us why we should care about these characters. It needs to do all of the like backstory character development that hasn't really happened in the Marvel movies for these characters. And I think the scripts kind of failed them.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think they made the most of what they were given, but I don't think they were given what they needed to kind of like make a lasting impression,
No,
at least
I
on us.
think it feels like maybe it was pitched as a feature and they were like, well, Disney Plus is happening, so we need some original content for
Yeah.
that. Why not make it a TV series?
Well,
And
you would think the TV series, like, it's kind of built for a TV series though, right? Like, if you're going to be
it is.
parodying all of these different genres and past classic sitcoms, you would think it's built for streaming.
That's how it should work. And I think I say that because I would say a good 80% of the show feels like wheel spinning and
Yeah.
like they're biding their time because especially in that first half, like every episode is the same thing. It's like, okay,
Yes.
we're doing a sitcom bit and we're going to commit to the technical, like it's going to look like a sitcom, it's going to feel like a sitcom. It's not going to be as well written as the
No.
actual sitcom, but
And
it's going to be
obviously,
that.
there were some crappy sitcoms, especially like the Brady Bunch wasn't the best sitcom in the world, even though I have very
Right,
warm feelings for it.
but I think like the problem is the show commits to these half-assed sitcom bits, but then it like teases you with like, oh, but just tune into the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what's happening then. But the problem is they do that every episode.
Yes.
And then the fourth episode is finally like, oh, okay, we're gonna start to introduce Sword. We're gonna start to tell you, hint at like, okay, here's the story of what's going on, when this takes place, what's happening. But even that, like, then once that gets introduced, they go back to the old format of like, it's a sitcom and Wanda's being weird and Vision's suspicious of her. And then big reveal at the end of the episode to keep you watching future
Yeah,
episodes.
and also when the weird thing too is, I mean, we've kind of been criticizing the style of writing when they're doing like the old-fashioned sitcoms, but as they get into modern sitcom parodies, like Modern Family, Malcolm in the Middle, it's still not funny. So, like, you can argue for the first 3-4 episodes that, like, oh, we're parodying an older time. You don't get it because you didn't grow up on Nick at Night, or you weren't alive
Right.
then. But, like, when you're parodying shows that were on when most of the audience was, like, alive and are still arguably funny to this day, there's no excuse to either, like,
Yeah.
write a better script or hire these very much alive writers who live in Los Angeles down the road and could contribute some jokes. If
Yeah,
they
Marvel's
did,
got the
did do
money.
that, I'm sorry, but it didn't seem like they did do that. It didn't seem
Marvel's got
like
the
they were
money to do
down.
that. And
Yeah.
the other thing is, I think the concept kind of falls apart there, because what's posited later on is that, oh, Wanda used to watch sitcoms with her family, and it's the
Right.
memory of what she had, which is not a great explanation for the concept in general. But then it's like, yeah, but she wasn't watching Malcolm in the Middle or Modern Family, was she? Maybe
No,
Malcolm in the
she
Middle,
would
but
be
like Modern Family?
she's too old for that.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, that was weird, but I guess they're just trying to make it timeless for this, like,
Well, it
21st century audience.
it hammers home that their idea was sitcoms, and then we'll figure it out later, and then they didn't really figure it out later.
Yeah,
They
I
just
guess I didn't
came
buy,
up with
like,
this.
the whole trunk of pristine DVDs. I would imagine that the DVDs would be, like, printed out covers with, like, lines in them from, like, the ink toner being low, and, like, put on these fake cases, like, very much
Right.
bootleg DVD. You would think. I mean, there's a missile coming into their living room.
Yeah.
It's a war-torn country. I don't think they have the resources, but maybe they do. What do I know? Maybe that's my own bias
Yeah,
coming
you
through.
don't know, Richie.
I
You
don't
know
know,
what
and
it's
I don't know what
like.
it's like to live in Sokovia. I've never lived there before.
Nobody's lived there.
Nobody's lived there before because it's fake. But
See, but Richie, that's what's so brilliant. Only people from Sokovia would make sitcoms that aren't funny. So it makes sense that they wouldn't be funny in the show.
that's a problem, though. When you come to Los Angeles and you demand that your writer's room is full of Sokovian writers, I'm sick and tired of these Sokovians coming to my country, taking our entertainment jobs. Anyway, I would say that was my favorite episode, though, of the series.
The one where they start to reveal, like,
where they start to reveal why the hell this is happening. And I would argue that I think you could have revealed that, like, oh, Wanda loved what. I know it might have given away more than you felt comfortable giving away to the audience, but you could have withheld the Agnes reveal until later and at least given us that early on. Because without the Wanda loved watching pristine DVDs of shows that came out when she was in her 20s, but for some reason she grew up watching them as a child,
Right.
like, I can at least, that actually gives me a reason to continue watching. At least, like, oh, great, there's enough meat on these bones to warrant, like, the rest of the sitcom parodies.
I honestly, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think they knew they didn't have anything to offer. I agree that episode was interesting strictly because it was like, oh, okay, well, all right, we're starting to get into the meat of it. We're starting
And
to
also
understand
Catherine Hahn,
things.
who's, like, billed as like really, like, the comedic anchor of this show. I don't think she really has much to do until that episode.
Exactly. And
so,
also,
like, and she's great in that episode, but, like,
I think what's very clear is the people behind the show did not have enough material for 9 episodes of a television show. So the sitcom thing was kind of like, well, if we distract the audience, we're going to show them, oh, it's black and white. Isn't that clever? It's like a sitcom. Yeah. Oh, now it's Modern Family. Now we're doing Malcolm. People are going to be so distracted by the style of it. They're not going to notice that there's nothing going on underneath the surface. And it's almost like people coming out of the spell of Wanda when they're in the town. Yeah. It's like the second people start to come out of the spell, be like, wait a second, there's nothing going on. Oh, no. Quicksilver. Quick, throw us a Quicksilver cameo in there. And then audiences are recaptured again because it is like, oh, shit, that's Evan Peters. Like, are they connecting X-Men? And then they turn it into a boner joke later on.
Oh my God. Which at the absolute worst, like, if you're going to put a boner joke in a Marvel show, like Marvel Prestige television, fine. It's your show, Marvel. But it's like the worst possible time. Like, it detracts from anything interesting happening, gets detracted from by that boner joke, by going back to Evan Peters, who ultimately doesn't matter to the plot.
Yeah, and Evan Peters, who I actually really like. I like Evan Peters a lot. He is not good in the show. He's just as lost as everybody else.
She doesn't have much to do. I mean, again, like the writing is very much like, well, it's the Halloween episode. Wow, I hope you like Halloween. They're talking about,
and look, they're dressed up like they are in the
comics.
comics. It's great. So like, it's a lot of stuff, like little Easter eggs to be like, oh, to keep the fans gripped. They do a little teaser at the end of each episode to like keep the fans watching. But the content of the episodes themselves is pretty minimal. Like in terms of storytelling jumps, we don't have many plot points or story beats.
They keep teasing you, especially in the first couple episodes, with like characters like having nervous tics or like, I don't know why I'm doing this, or repeating things over and over again. But even that,
or like Vision saying like, Wanda, what's going on with Wanda? I don't know.
And then
like
she floats.
every episode. Yeah.
Well, and I just wanted to make the point of like, when they do those reveals, like, you know, random townspeople like displaying odd characteristics that make you wonder, why is this happening? They don't really come off as like these kind of like dramatic Twilight Zone-y reveals. To me, they really reminded me of experimental college theater. And I saw a lot of it in college, and some of it was good, but a lot of it, you know, was interesting.
Well, you know what the problem is? It's because, like I said, it's the guy who tells the same joke over and over again. It's like, yeah, we get it. We know that something is wrong because clearly Wanda and Vision are not these people. So why is this happening?
Just
and
the show, tell us already.
Yeah, exactly. The show thinks it's clever.
Right.
It thinks it's like, oh, they're going to, like, you know, the sitcom stuff, they're going to be so distracted by that. But when you break it down, it's like all you're doing is distracting us from the fact that you're withholding information that we know you're withholding. Like, it's like, we already know. It's like, oh, you're like, oh, pay attention over there. And it's like, yeah, but I know that the thing I want is in your hand. You're holding it. They're like, no, it's over there. And I'm like, no, I've already figured out you're holding it. You're clenching your fist. You're holding, you're shaking it. I know you have what the answers are. So stop trying to tell me, oh, it's something mysterious. It's like, no, I know what's going on. There's something weird. Just tell us. And
because again, like you said before, they don't really have much beyond.
They don't have much, so they have to prolong it.
Beyond the veil, there's not much. I guess like experimental college theater or experimental theater in general, it's good when you have something interesting and unique to say. But a lot of times they'll have an interesting concept, or, you know, they'll do like a weird spin on like a Shakespeare play where like every character is an alien, and it's set under the earth. You know, it's all about the concept, and the concept kind of weighs everything else down. And because you're so focused on this like sitcom concept and trying to wrap your head around the mystery, you don't really care about the people, because all of the filmmakers' energies are focused on just trying to sell this visual. They're not focused on trying to make these people well-rounded and likable.
It's not a story. I had a college experience like that where I won't name names, and I know this person doesn't listen to this podcast, so it doesn't really matter if I do. But they took Romeo and Juliet, and they called it Juliet and Romeo, and they played out the scenes in the play backwards. Like, so it goes from the end to the beginning of the play, which is a meaningless experiment because it doesn't enrich anything. It's just WandaVision is that, but with millions of dollars.
Juliet and Romeo is interesting if you know Romeo and Juliet. Unfortunately, nobody has ever seen WandaVision before. So, or like this aspect of these characters' relationships. So when you put them in a like concept blender and just throw a bunch of other TV show ingredients in there, there's not much. Like it's hard to care about it because Wanda and Vision are not Romeo and Juliet. It's not a tale as old as time. It's a witch and a robot in a great Marvel universe.
Who we don't really know. The characters we know the least.
Right.
So we need to know who they are. We don't really. So, I mean, it's very clear that we didn't love the show. There are things we like about it, but overall the show didn't work for either of us. So I think what started to really concern us, I guess is the word. Annoy is one word for it. Concern is another word. People seem to really like this, and not just like it. There are thought pieces. There are
it's a great antidote for grief. Apparently, it's like
apparently this is like
grief like no other content.
Apparently, this is a brilliant meditation on coping with grief, which is like after laughing when I read that, I was like, oh, this isn't an Onion article.
I'm
This
full
is,
of grief after hearing that.
Yeah, this is the Washington Post. Like, oh my God. So I think you and I almost like our general like dislike and disinterest in the show became outright.
It's amped
because yeah, it got amped up and it got pulled into this world where like people think this is great.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't get it.
I need to understand it. I understand that Marvel may have tricked people with the dangly, like, oh yeah, it's shiny, it's a sitcom, it's clever. But when you start to like look beyond the surface, you realize there's nothing there. Like,
yeah, because
there's not much happening.
outside of the sitcom elements, I don't think the story really works well either. In the sword camp, the sword Agents of Sword, the sword camp,
which is just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
which is just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with a new name. But the motivations that the characters have don't really make sense. And also, like, it's more of an excuse to kind of like throw in some characters we know, some comedians we like, some actors who are fun. But like, I don't understand why Monica Rambeau and Kat Dennings and Jimmy Woo are so hell-bent on saving Wanda, a woman who they hardly know, who has taken an entire town full of innocent people hostage. And sure, I guess like the head of the S.H.I.E.L.D. encampment is bad. He's got some nefarious intentions, but like, they don't necessarily know that going in. I mean, they're suspicious of him, but the fact that they're so hell-bent on saving Wanda when the only evidence they have shows them that she is like kind of out of control and kind of a menace to this society and kind of like has these scary powers and could pose a threat to like the population at large. I don't buy like their argument for saving Wanda seems like the writers of the show speaking through these characters.
That's all it is. It's we've got to help her. Why? Sitcom. That's it. That's basically it.
Yeah,
it's
also like the fact that like Kat Dennings is really into, watching the WandaVision show.
Kat Dennings.
Is the show that great? I mean,
I like
I mean, if it was like Two Broke Girls, I could get that, but
I like, Kat Dennings seems like a lovely young lady.
Yeah.
I one of the great joys of Thor Ragnarok was that her character was no longer a part of the film. And to have her brought back to this was just like another layer of, oh my God, I don't want any of the. Her character was so insufferable in the Thor movies, and now to bring her back as if it's like, yay! And when people like on social media were excited about it,
I mean,
I was
people like Kat Dennings. I think I like Kat Dennings.
I think that's it. I like
her
Kat Dennings, but
I don't. Jar Jar Binks of the Thor movies. But I personally would have loved to have, as somebody who kind of started to sour on the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I reached a point where I was like, you know what, put Jar Jar in there just for the heck of it. So like,
but that's how like it just feels like I don't even remember. You go ahead.
I think all I was saying was I don't have a huge problem with Kat Dennings, although I understand where you're coming from. It's more so just my point from before. I don't understand why they. What their observations are.
Oh, you know what? I remember what I was going to say. The show plants the idea of like Wanda's doing terrible things, like kind of spontaneously, like, oh, but she misses Vision, so she's going to kidnap an entire town. It's like she created Vision from her own body. Like they made a point of showing us that she can't just create citizens of a town. She had to capture and imprison people. So to that extent, it's like, oh, Wanda's not a good person. So to have these people fighting to be like, no, Wanda, we love her, we have to save her. It's like, why? She's clear. All the evidence points to her being insane.
And like we said before, we don't know this character compared to many other Marvel Universe characters.
So in the last episode of the series, there's that moment where Agnes is like, oh, really, Wanda? Let me show you what you've done. And she lets all the people like come out of there. Like Wanda's like, I'm not the bad guy. I don't do bad things. And it's like, clearly you do. And you know you do. These are innocent people. And Agnes reveals like, oh, here's what they really think. And then Wanda acts so shocked as if she didn't know she brainwashed these people. And like, she's like, no, I can fix this. I can fix it. And I was like, this is so stupid. The show doesn't even know who Wanda is as a character, because she's either an idiot or she's just a terrible human being. And the show seems to think like, oh, but she's wrestling with the death of Vision. And it's like, I don't buy it. I think grief is a buzzword they use to get all the clickbait articles that they've gotten to rally up this whole like, oh, it's such a powerful meditation on grief, and that's what we need in 2021.
Grief is the search engine optimized theme of
WandaVision. Yes,
of the WandaVision 100%. Script. You can kind of
people buy it. People bought into it.
Yeah, they did.
Why did they? I want to understand.
I mean, people wanted WandaVision to be good. We did too. We wanted WandaVision to be good too. But unfortunately, at least to us, it wasn't that great.
This is like the Dark Knight Rises all over again.
Well, I wanted to get to that point. You know, we talk about Avengers at the beginning of this podcast and how I loved Avengers so much because I went into it with really very low expectations. I didn't think it was going to be bad. I thought it was going to be fine. But I outside of Iron Man, I didn't really love Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did not like it. I was very lukewarm to it. I was so excited for The Dark Knight Rises that year. And when I saw it, it broke my heart. And it killed me inside. Because I didn't understand why any character was doing anything they said they were doing. I was told the reason why the ending happened was because I guess Bane doesn't like guns. I don't remember. I haven't seen it since 2012. I hated it. But Avengers was the sleeper hit of the summer.
It was. It really
cut back
was.
to 2012. We thought the world was ending. You know, Mayan calendar, asteroids, the election of 2012. Anything could happen.
Now flash forward to now, and the world actually is ending. So WandaVision people are just like, I need this to be brilliant. Therefore, it is brilliant.
WandaVision is the beast that was foretold. I don't know if you've read Revelations.
That's in Revelation. That's right.
Perhaps you've read Agnes's Book of Spells. Can I say one of my favorite things about WandaVision? Catherine Hahn's hand movements. Such contortions. Like, wow.
She does.
She's got to be double jointed.
That's something to admire. She's bringing a lot to the table there, because I think Bettany and Olsen seem to be at a loss as to what to do, but Hahn's hands are the real champions of the show. For sure. Hahn's hands. That sounds like a handy open up like a little like a handy shop where you can get your stuff fixed, like somebody who knows how to fix a watch or something like that. But I've got to be completely honest. The overwhelmingly positive reaction to this is utterly baffling. People I know and love, I again don't want to insult anybody. I don't think that they're listening, but I won't name names. People I know and love, you know who you are if you're listening, who are otherwise like, we tend to agree. Like, we tend to agree when it comes to movies and
normal people.
Like, otherwise, like they recognize the same problems in other things that we've discussed. Like, people who don't like The Dark Knight Rises for the same reasons that you and I don't like it.
Right.
For some reason are like, oh, WandaVision, it's brilliant, right? And I'm like, no, it's not. What happened? How did they trick you? But I think you're right. I think, are we getting to the point with Disney properties? It's happening with Star Wars to a certain extent. Like, I think a lot of these criticisms could be applied to The Mandalorian, but The Mandalorian is a well-made show. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's engaging.
And I would also argue The Mandalorian is great because, like, Jon Favreau runs a tight freaking ship. His story is simple. It's straightforward. He doesn't put any bells and whistles into outside of, the end of last season. He doesn't put anything that feels like gratuitous in the show. And he really kind of ticks all the boxes.
Boba Fett, Ahsoka.
Boba Fett, Ahsoka. He's got the most, probably, I would argue, most diverse Star Wars cast in the history of Star Wars. And there's no fanfare about that. And I think that's it's just great. It's like he doesn't ask anything of the audience other than
Mandalorian is fan pandering for sure. But as far as fan pandering goes, it's like, it doesn't hurt anybody.
No, it can
it's like, oh, this is
fander
good.
me as much as it wants.
It can fander me as much as you want. Now, as far as what it means for Star Wars, to me, as somebody who wants Star Wars to be exciting and take risks, as somebody who enjoyed The Last Jedi, I can say I'm not that excited by what The Mandalorian has to offer because it's safe. It's like, it's appealing to what that fan base wants, and it's not challenging with like incredible storytelling. It's just
I would argue
safe.
we've seen so much garbage in the Star Wars universe, garbage,
that's okay.
garbage, that
Right.
it's like it's great. I think it's one of the best things since 1980.
But listen, we're about to get sidetracked. I can feel it.
No. Actually, we're not, because this brings up a point that I brought up to you a while ago. That that just to go back to the sword agents. And their motivations.
Wait, I wasn't done with my. So WandaVision. What I was trying to say was WandaVision. The question I have for you and for everybody is: are we so into whatever these properties have to throw at us that we've forgotten to recognize whether or not it's actual like good engaging storytelling? I brought up Mandalorian as like, oh, it's fan pandering, it's fan service, but it's good. Whereas WandaVision feels lazy, but like people have accepted it because I guess they were like, oh, it's about grief, and everyone's like, grief, I know what grief is. Okay,
well, and that was the icing on the cake. I mean, people were willing to accept it before the grief angle.
But
really
anyway, but go back to Sword. Sorry.
I think just because we had talked about Star Wars and The Last Jedi, and Sword, the agents, their motivations are murky, and I don't understand why Jimmy and Kat Dennings, so I'm just gonna refer to her as Kat Dennings. What's her character, Lacey? I don't remember.
Darcy.
Darcy.
Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy, played by Kat Dennings on Broadway. I'm just gonna imagine that like everybody else is like an agent, and actual real life Kat Dennings is in
Agent
universe.
Kat Dennings.
Agent Kat Dennings. So Jimmy Woo, Rambo, Kat Dennings they're so gung-ho about saving Wanda, but like it makes no sense to me why, based on what they know, they care so much. They want to save her as if they're fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies.
They're the people who want to love WandaVision so much they're missing the point. That it's
and their motivations are it's so clear to me that is just like a projection, the writers trying to write their way around whatever holes they've dug themselves in. They're projecting all of their feelings about the story onto these characters. And that's how I felt about Rose in The Last Jedi. I really loved Rose in The Last Jedi, the actress, Kelly Marie Tran. But I understand some of the fan anger towards, I guess, where she's.
Well, the Rose Finn stuff was the worst part.
The Rose Finn stuff was the worst part.
And then the Rose stuff kind of like it self-destructs when it turns into her like, let me actually verbally state the theme of the movie.
Right, because Finn was actually about to do something interesting. Finn, and I know he was going to sacrifice himself and die, but it would have given his character something to have lived for. So when Rose rams him with his speeder after he's about to actually do something, he's going to sacrifice himself. I knew we were done
as soon as I referenced Star Wars. He's going
to save the rebellion by like ramming into that super laser. She stops him from doing that. Her argument is, that's stupid. Why would you kill yourself for a cause that I've been championing for the past hour and 40 minutes of this movie? And then she has the gall to kiss him and make it like a romantic moment. Now, to me, that was very much Rian Johnson projecting his own desires for the character. He had written himself into a corner. He had to get that scene in, and he managed to kind of like massage into the script that it was like, this is the message of the movie, that it's really all about love. That pulled me out of the movie. And for me, that feels very much like what you get with these sword characters in WandaVision.
It's the writing team actively trying to figure out what the point of the show is on screen, acted out by professionals, and realizing at the end, oh, this is just a tease for Captain Marvel 2. Okay. Did you even see that? Did you see the post-credits scene in the finale?
Yeah, wait, which one? There was the Wanda playing D&D with herself, diddling herself, D&D style. What was the other one?
I didn't even see that one. There was one where the first one where she Rambo like the alien from Captain Marvel shows up and it's like, we're going into Captain Marvel 2. Let's go.
Yeah, I didn't mind that because again, it was like, I don't give a shit what happens. Just give me some aliens.
I was like, so this whole thing was a tease for Captain Marvel 2. What was the show again? I think, well, what's funny is when
that
people
reminds me, I loved the magic show in episode 2.
But you know what? What was funny is I called it from the beginning. People were like, "Oh, it's so brilliant and subversive," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like this isn't gonna last. It's gonna just go back into generic Marvel stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So when people were surprised that the finale was just like a boring like fight, like CGI battle, like I was like, "Well, what did you expect? It's Marvel. Like This is what they do. They don't think outside the box when it comes to this stuff. The finale felt so perfectly like an encapsulation of the entire show, where it's like we didn't have anywhere to go and it was all leading to this. We tried to make you think we were more clever, but really it was all leading to people zapping each other and punching each other.
Our cleverest gag is we're going to diffuse tension with a boner joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I tell people, I'm like, why the Marvel humor works is because it's character driven. I even say this. I say it's not like people are on screen going,
he always says this.
Yeah, I say this all the time. But like, it's not like people are on screen going, oops, I farted. And then like that joke happened and I was like, oh God, like maybe this is the point where I'm jumping off the Marvel bandwagon. Like now I'm like, Pappy Scorsese, I'm on board. Like I get it. I fully understand. And I don't want to be so cynical as to suggest like there isn't great superhero storytelling. Like we've seen it. Some of the best films of this century are superhero movies. The Dark Knight, the Avengers, like Spider-Man 2. Like, we've seen what that genre can do at its best. And unfortunately, what has happened since Endgame, just based on Spider-Man Far From Home and WandaVision,
which I do enjoy Spider-Man Far From Home.
I wasn't into it, and like, so to have that and then this, it's like, oh no, you guys really, it's like this is the other thing I say all the time, it's like Supernatural, which is a show that I love, but to be completely honest, the best Supernatural is the Eric Kripke years, which is the first 5 seasons. And Eric Kripke, when he created Supernatural, said, I have a 5-season arc, and after that, I'm done. But the show was popular enough that Warner Brothers, the WB, which is now the CW at the time, or it was WB at the time, they were like, well, we want to keep going. And they did, and you could feel it. Like, it's like, you guys told your story, you're done. I kind of enjoy this, but it doesn't have the same spark of like drama or investment on my part emotionally. Like, I'm not engaged in this. And after Endgame, I feel very much like I did at the end of Phase 1, which is like before the Avengers. I'm like, where are you going with this? You really need to win me back over because I'm not into this.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you guys are not showing me anything that is promising. Like, I don't feel excited for what's to come. There's nothing. I'm excited about Doctor Strange because Sam Raimi is directing it, because of the next Spider-Man movie is suggesting that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and everybody will be in it. But that's not like storytelling. That's just fan stuff to make me excited.
But the storytelling might be good. You don't know.
I don't know. And I hope it is, because I'm perfectly happy to be like, again, when Avengers came out, I was so blown away and I was like, I was completely wrong. I'm happy to do that again. I'm a little more skeptical now. And with WandaVision, just the way it feels and the fact that people are so embracing of it really concerns me, because I'm like, did we not recognize what good storytelling is when it's attached to a property that we like?
Well, I mean, I don't need everybody to like the same show I like. I don't need another good Marvel show. I mean, I fell in love, speaking of Eric Kripke, I fell in love with The Boys, which was fantastic. Around the same time WandaVision came on, I started watching The Boys, and kind of like to mirror our like 2012, we were really excited for The Dark Knight Rises, but The Avengers was the real movie event that we weren't expecting. Superman and Lois is like the superhero show that nobody's really talking about. While this WandaVision is blowing up. Now, we're biased because we love Superman, particularly Superman the movie, love the character, but like that's like, it's a little slower. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of WandaVision or the budget, but there's something about it that is much more human.
Superman at its core, Superman and Lois, and I'm glad this has become just a promo for that show, because I think it's so good, and it has
I'm drinking out of my
problems that
Superman and Lois koozie right now.
it's not perfect, but its heart is in the right place. It understands Superman, and it has a fresh take on that mythology.
Yep.
And at the core, it works. It's not a gimmick. They have something really strong as far as a take on a character that could be really, really special.
Right.
Whereas WandaVision was, they started with the gimmick and they tried to work their way to a story and never got there. So the problem with Superman is, in general, you're working uphill because people don't generally like Superman. And WandaVision was like, sitcom, it's flashy, it's creative. And people were like, this is the most subversive television I've ever seen in my life, because they don't watch anything. They haven't seen anything in their lives. So like the problem is, Superman's not trying to show off with like flashy nonsense to distract you from the fact that nothing's happening. It's just a good show. And that's the problem, is people
I will
with so
say
much
that there are people with good taste who love WandaVision, but
no, they don't.
No, they're all monsters. No, but just getting it out there. But
we got to, because we've been so negative, or I've been so negative.
No, but
I don't want anyone to think that I like that. I didn't like the show. I'm really trying to understand it, but I would also encourage all you people who I love so much. Just think about it. Just think about some of the things that we've talked about here.
Please. I mean, look, I know a lot of people who really loved Dark Knight Rises until they thought about it. And I know a lot of people who still love it. But I guess to your point earlier, Shawn, about I don't need everybody to hate it, but the problem is, this is a signal. All of this buzz is a signal to the powers that be, to Disney, to keep making shows like this. And I really don't want that to happen.
That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
Disney is looking at this and saying, oh, well, we didn't put that much effort into this, so maybe we could just like slide by. And I'm looking at the MCU up to this point and saying, this worked because you put your hearts and souls into it.
Yeah.
And I know it became kind of like, yes, there were formulas, and yes, some of these movies feel cookie cutter and feel like they're all cut from the same cloth. But the ones that really work feel like visions of their filmmakers, and they also feel special, like people cared. WandaVision, part of it, I'm sure everybody involved with WandaVision cared. Of course they did. Nobody sets out to make something bad. All I'm saying is there was clearly not enough time invested into making the show work beyond the sitcom element.
Right.
And they didn't really quite figure out how to tell a compelling story about these characters. And they leaned into the sitcom stuff because they knew that. And
it was a great gimmick you could put your hat on.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like you said, based on what we've read and what we've seen, Disney can kind of look at this and say, well, it works, so maybe we don't have to put as much effort into these things. People will eat up whatever we shove like down their throats. Like they don't care. It's just like we put the Marvel brand on it and they love it. And that's what, like you said, that concerns me a lot, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't get here by doing that. It got here by being different and subversive and paving its own way. And now they're kind of like treading water, and they're not at a point where they can take risks anymore. I don't know. It feels safe and it feels boring, and I'm worried about what's to come.
Yeah. If the if the viewing public treated this show with the same indifference as they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't think we'd have a problem. We wouldn't have a podcast. Who would care? But like, they are eating it up, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a better show.
But you're absolutely right. I think so much of what sparked us to do this in the first place is just being so taken aback.
We want to understand you.
Yeah,
we don't.
I want to understand. I don't think I ever will. I don't know that I think I get it. I think we get it, and it makes me sad.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn into. I would love to be Scorsese. He's one of the greatest filmmakers, arguably the best living filmmaker.
Yeah, who's stopping you, kid?
I would love to be that. I don't want to turn into like the Scorsese that's just like, this is the death of cinema, and not recognizing the merits of what this has to offer. That being said, I think everything Scorsese is worried about is in WandaVision. Like the lack of interesting storytelling, the lack of creative juice, the not having anything meaningful to say. That is what worries me. And to see this happen and to see people not realizing that this is not what what the story could be, like what the great version of this could be, is like it's not even Tom King's vision, which is spectacular. I
Was he involved in the show at all or no?
No, he wasn't. He's busy. He's writing Batman. He's writing all sorts of stuff.
I mean,
But,
it was probably a great pitch and had great test footage, and the person who pitched it and probably ended up becoming the showrunner or heavily involved in the writing. It's probably their passion project. I mean, it's such a good idea, and that's part of where the frustration comes too. Is that, like, you know, I didn't care about not getting what I was promised when it came to like X-Men characters or Fantastic Four cameos. I don't give a shit about that. I didn't get what the trailer seemed to hint at, and what the previews and the commercials seemed to promise, and what everybody else is telling me was in that show, which was like fun, accurate,
but subversive, like something that
parody with love, or something subversive,
something that takes risks and does
different.
something different. Like it did something different, but not like different, but it was very tied to the generic Marvel.
It was different. Is what is the description of the show. It was pretty different.
It was different. Yeah, but it's, you know, it's maybe we are just assholes.
Just
maybe
two old assholes. Jeez.
Yeah, we just can't
grow up. Get out of the way!
Don't understand
I
what the
want
kids
to
like.
do my lovingly made superhero starring parody of sitcom tropes without being judged by you two trolls.
Yeah.
Said the person who made
the showrunner of WandaVision, who couldn't wait to listen to this episode.
Please hire us, Marvel.
What else? What else? I mean,
what else? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, we love Marvel. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, you know, didn't love this.
I'll be honest. I'm getting tired of Marvel and Star Wars in general.
Oh yeah,
like,
no.
I am falling into the category of like, this is no longer art. It's now like, it's TV. It's just generic. Yeah. They found a formula and it's television and it's not emotionally meaningful. And what worries me, just to bring it back to Star Wars, is when you look at like The Last Jedi and compare it to The Rise of Skywalker, and you see like, well, Disney was willing to put all that money into Rise of Skywalker because they thought that's what fans wanted to see, and that's what scares me.
But again, though, at the end of the day, I mean, they do it at their own peril. People still see DC DCEU movies, and there's still a lot of fans for it. I mean, everything. If it's a labor of love that people like, I don't need to like everything that Hollywood puts out. But if they're only going to put out stuff like this, or if this is the stuff that only gets like the big press, if WandaVision gets nominated for a bunch of Emmy awards, which it might based on like what we're seeing.
Oh my God. No, you're probably right. Oh God.
Then it'll be like, well, the nerds have taken over. But was it worth it?
But like, yeah, but the least discerning, artistically sound nerds on the planet. That's what I just give it to something like, you know, we couldn't nominate The Dark Knight for Best Picture, but like, it doesn't mean that like down the line we have to nominate something like, I can't think of any examples. Maybe this isn't a good analogy.
No,
but
I mean,
I feel like
because they didn't nominate The Dark Knight. Because of that, they had to start nominating like 8-10 movies every year as like atonement.
I keep thinking about Legion, which is, you know,
I've never watched,
Marvel,
but I hear it's fantastic, and what I've seen
amazing.
Looks great.
At least the first season is amazing, and the other 2 seasons are definitely worth a watch. But like everything people praise WandaVision for, Legion did 1,000 times better. It did it creatively. It took risks. It did not stick itself inside a box to like appease Disney. It was a completely bonkers, insane, like exactly what I want that kind of show to be. And I think the fact that Legion kind of had a noble little lifespan. It had a noble 3 seasons, and it had a dedicated little fan base. But WandaVision is getting all the attention when it feels so much lazier and less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It just bothers me. And if WandaVision becomes the poster child, and I think what happens is, this is a whole other we've been going for like an hour and a half. But
God.
I think what happens is this is getting into other territory. What the media knows what you want to see, and they know you want to see articles about WandaVision. So they publish articles about WandaVision, and that inflates WandaVision's popularity past the point of what is actual reality. So I think I think we're touching on a weird world where, like, because media outlets and newspapers and magazines know that WandaVision is a guaranteed click for an article, it naturally gets more coverage than the show like Legion, and therefore it, like I said, it inflates the popularity of the show when it might not be as popular as we think.
And hate
maybe
and
our
rage
reaction
sells. So, and they're going to keep sending ads to us because they know it'll make us angry.
And maybe that our reaction is falling right into their hand. We just created a WandaVision podcast. We're part of the problem. Maybe
you got to retitle this to like
something else that's
Birds
not WandaVision.
Of Prey Birds of Prey cast.
Are we, maybe by not liking WandaVision, we're still playing into Disney's hands because we're creating content and people are listening to this and saying, well, maybe it's not as bad as they say. I'm going to watch it. Richie, we are the problem. We are WandaVision.
I am WandaVision. I am Wanda, hear me roar.
We're all owned by Disney. Oh, that's so depressing.
Well, hopefully we get some of that Disney money soon. I can use it, baby.
Do we want to, like, is there a final
I don't know. Like, there was I feel like we rambled in a good way.
We rambled a lot.
I hope don't put this on the podcast where I'm talking about how we sounded. We rambled in a great way. Thanks, America.
Nobody's gonna listen to this.
No, seriously.
People like nobody. The majority of people. This is, I guess.
Don't you, Tanya Harding, WandaVision, you sons of bitches. Get your hands off my WandaVision. You're just like evil WandaVision or Evil Vision.
Oh man, this is where it gets really good.
That's exactly what Kat Dennings' co-star from Two Broke Girls would say.
By the end of this, we're losing our minds. So
I'm
this
a
is
Two
the
Broke
good
Girls
material.
truther. Where's my Two Broke Girls parody?
A good hour and 30 minutes to get to the good stuff. But okay, you know what? I'm done. I can't talk about this anymore.
I'm done. Please don't use that.
We're good.
This is what you should put in. It's like, I'm done. You know what? I'm done with this shit. No, Shawn, come back. Come back. No. delete. I'm deleting my internet practice. My internet practice.
I think this is just like, this is something special that the podcasting world needed. It just needed our conversation as we try to process what's happening to the world of entertainment and art. And there's no answer. We realize we are the problem, and we are as much to blame as Disney.
WandaVision is the solution.
WandaVision is the solution. 5 stars for WandaVision. This is all, I think, a subtext of WandaVision. I think really it's brilliant the way they made us. The whole point of it was they wanted us to make a podcast about it, and therefore the show is brilliant.
No, we needed to get this out of our system because we've only been keeping it on the inside, watching as everybody posts their own think pieces about WandaVision.
This is our think piece.
I have to say, I don't know if I said this before, and if I already said this, forgive me. But I think it's pretty telling that while the word may not be in WandaVision exactly, the sound of the word is in WandaVision, and that word is division. And I believe that WandaVision has sown the seeds of division into our current divided media landscape. It's tearing us apart, limb from limb. People don't know what's good TV anymore. They see a shadow, a veil, a false television. And that television is Wanda Television.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I thank you for listening. Richie, I thank you. This has been great. And I'm glad we were able to turn our texts into a lasting audio episode of my podcast.
Yeah, this is our dramatic reading.
It'll live on the internet forever. So thank you for that. And can you tell people at home, do you want to tell them where you are? I assume you don't, because I I imagine WandaVision fans are gonna.
No, the
I can
Disney
hear them
drones are
rallying
already
outside
flying
now.
over.
Yeah,
You know,
they're not. They don't do anything. They don't actually do anything. They think they do things. And I don't know where I'm going
we
with
all
this.
think we do things. You can find me on @Richie Pepio on Twitter. You can find me.
Oh, is this a new website?
yeah. You can find me on @Richie Pepio, which is a new. It's not like Twitter. You can find me on Twitter @Richie Pepio, and yeah, find me online. I do comedy and stuff, but not lately because of the pandemic. I'll let you know when I'm back at it, people.
I'm
Anybody?
not I'm not anywhere on social media. Don't look for me. Do not tell me
Wait, but
that I'm
Shawn, aren't you
stupid.
like a social media czar?
No, I'm not. I don't use it ever. Never. Do not find me. Don't look for me. Don't look at Yay Shondor Man on Twitter. Don't comment. Don't yell at me. I can't take it. I'm in a fragile emotional state, and this show broke me. This episode healed me, and I think I need to take some time to meditate.
Are you a white vision right now?
I'm such a white vision. I'm a white male vision, and I'm part of the problem. Is that the end of this episode?
When is it? Did we end 20 minutes ago?
I think
Did we end before we started? I think we did.